All right, Waleed, we're live. Thank you for joining me. The floor is yours. Go ahead and introduce yourself and then tell me all about the startup you're working for.
For sure. Thanks, Connor, for having me. So, just to give you a background on who I am, I was a founding member and head of growth at Dreamfleet, a visually guided wellness solution that helps organizations understand their employees better through wellness analytics and helps employees achieve wellness goals through science-backed breathing and visualizations. So, if you kind of think about it, it's like Headspace and Calm meets TikTok. Uh,
Hmm.
so I did that for a little bit. We ended up getting bought out. It was more like a acqui-hire deal. So the main founder, ended up going over to the new company, and then he ended up going into a different direction. Same for me. So it was pretty successful, I would say. Um, After that, I worked with a network community filled with VCs and startups that have roots to the MENA region. I currently still there, doing that on the side. I source deals to our investor community within the network to connect startups looking for funding with investors within the network. So that I do on the side as well. And then like my primary roles that I've been, just my regular career, I've been with OpenText and Twilio. I've been doing more so pricing and monetization in that space, in the tech space. And then, of course, currently right now, I'm the head of go to market at Spiky.AI. Of course, with any startup, we wear multiple hats. So my scope at Spiky has been pretty wide and exciting. But primarily, I'm responsible for our strategic growth and our revenue model for now.
Okay. And if you don't mind, can you just give me the pitch for Spiky AI? How's it going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
change the world?
So, at a very high level, Spiky caters to innovative companies really embracing remote or hybrid teams. Our solution, we provide that to those teams, and our solution is able to analyze calls, trainings, coaching sessions, and any other online meeting, and then it'll basically elevate performance and drive growth through advanced AI models. So the solution can really extend out to a lot of different verticals and use cases, empowering sales, customer success, product teams to understand, customer needs and really enhance interactions and boost productivity. And really, that's just the start of it. And just to make it more simple, like imagine Spiky coming into this call.
Hmm.
Basically, after this call, it would provide me all sorts of analytics on our discussion, any follow ups, where I can improve in terms of the discussion to make, for example, my use case, if I was a salesperson, where to improve in terms of like, okay, I lost this person at when I was talking about this. Maybe I can improve by talking about XYZ when I have a similar discussion with someone else later on. So yeah, it's really simple to use, and that's just the start of it. Like I said.
Yeah. So maybe just to kind of dig into that a bit more, you say it's for hybrid and virtual sales forces, right? And how much of selling would you say now is being done virtually? I think about, I've had sales roles in the past, and there are portions of the sale that take place over email, over the phone, and in person. So, does it truly only work for sales teams that are 100% virtual and selling through Zoom or other online meeting platforms?
Yeah, I would say so for now. The opportunity is limitless. But right now, our bread and butter really is Spiky would end up joining a virtual meeting, whether that's through Zoom, Google Meet, WebEx, or any other virtual meeting, where a sales call is happening or any other meeting is happening. It could be a product meeting, it could be a VC sourcing deals, and they're getting meetings with their clients. It could be a customer success meeting, customer
Hmm.
meeting with a customer success rep at, a company, all types of meetings. So the use cases are pretty wide.
Um, and then, do you have to notify the customer, like, hey, I'm using a AI assistant here, or do they not know that that's going on at the call? How does that work?
Yeah, you usually will invite the scribe to come in, and it will basically, when an attendee joins like a Zoom meeting, it'll say, this person's waiting in the lobby. They can accept it or reject it. Usually they'll accept it and just ask, hey, what is this? And we'll just explain that it's joining the meeting. Of course, they have the option to reject it and they don't have to have it come in. But usually people are pretty open to it.
Mm-hmm. And do you have maybe like a story or a case study like that kind of demonstrates like that aha moment it could provide for a sales team member? Because I'm just trying to conceptualize the product. It sounds like okay, it transcribes and takes notes from a meeting. I know that this platform we're on right now, Riverside, does something similar. Like, what does it do beyond that that is truly valuable?
Yeah. So, if we were to take the sales use case for a individual contributor at a company, the perspective of value for them that's being offered would basically be, of course, driving deep connections with their customers, ensuring that emotional continuity during their follow-ups. Um, Making sure that their follow-ups are rich in insights. They're able to just extract quick detailed insights from the meeting analysis and are able to send that follow-up through an email. One of the biggest things I think that's a huge value add to these sales reps is saving time with the automated CRM filling. So a lot of sales reps, they end up using Salesforce and don't really fill out Salesforce the opportunity fully.
Mm-hmm.
And so with our product, and we're still improving features on this end, but with our product, essentially a sales rep doesn't have to fill out anything. Spiky is able to analyze the meeting, take out the relevant information, and pre-populate the opportunity within Salesforce. So that saves a lot of time for the sales rep. So a lot of like these automated tasks, those are like a huge value add because you're saving time, and time is money, right? Additionally, when it comes from like a leadership perspective, you don't only have like individual contributor salespeople, but you also have these sales managers. They're looking to build and lead a stellar sales team, and they have to always like find a way to understand, okay, how many meetings are my reps taking? What did these meetings look like? Were they successful? Were they not?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we're able to provide these analytics and highlights to the sales manager to be able to understand, okay, my sales reps are doing X, Y, Z. Here's some insights that I can extract and help them do even better. Additionally, on top of that, we also offer a coaching feature where people can go into a certain place on the platform and be able to say, hey, Spiky says, here's a way where you can improve in terms of like, winning the deal, for example, or, whenever you're talking to an opportunity, they're losing interest at a certain point. Here's how you can improve that. So that's just kind of a quick background on the value.
Yeah, and are you able or have you tied metrics or numbers to that, like in terms of time savings or efficiencies or increases in close rates? I don't know what you have, but I'm just curious. Maybe that could help the audience understand like the power of the tool.
Yeah. So from my understanding, I think it was about 51 or 52% of opportunities were closing faster from customers. A lot of our customers too, we have case studies that I could share later on in more detail, and I can send you the link. We're waiting on the company to just be able to approve the case study for us to share. But they were able to really reduce the time spent on meetings and understanding, post meetings by like 60 or 80%, something like that. So it's saving a lot of time for these people.
Hmm.
And I think that's the biggest value.
And then I'm just trying to think through this, right? Because it sounds like from or many points of the sales process, this your app, your tool, Spiky, automates a lot of it. So what do you think the life of a salesperson looks like in the future, right? Like you are already taking away the need to fill out the CRM or to take meeting notes, and then it sounds like your tool is helping in follow-up emails or providing kind of like a chat GPT with insights and things that you can include in the follow-up. So I mean, I think it sounds great, but what does that look like then from a salesperson's perspective in the future?
Yeah, so I like to think about it as like a kind of like a sales wingman. Um, you know, salespeople that end up going on a call, they don't really have any help. I guess like they'll have help from their manager post meeting and things like that. But um, as we look forward into the future, I really see this as like kind of like a wingman or a buddy to be able to look towards and help you through your sales journey. So that's pre-meeting, during the meeting, and post-meeting. And what I mean by like during the meeting, for example, um, I could totally see this heading in the direction of live feedback. So, as I'm trying to sell you something right now, Spiky is analyzing, our behavior and our conversational data. And while it's doing that, it's able to tell me, okay, this conversation is heading towards here. Let's start to pivot into a different discussion or a different point of topic before you end up losing the opportunity or losing interest. So live feedback, I think, is one of the biggest um, value adds in the future for
Mhm.
salespeople as well.
And what does that look like from the salesperson, right? Is it like you're on Zoom and then that's where the chat is and it would pop up mid meeting and it says, hey, recommend that you pivot to asking this question or something like that?
Yeah, it'd be something like that. We haven't really, further delved into that, but that's just kind of my thoughts on how that would look like in the future. There possibly could be features in the pipeline within this space that is taking towards like live feedback, but from just kind of my thoughts and being in the space, I that's what I could see.
Okay. And then I'm curious, just your opinion, like as this kind of technology progresses or as your product progresses, I mean, do you feel like there will always be a need for actual salespeople, or do you like foresee a future where people are interacting and buying from just an AI?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I think there's always the human element to things that makes it really special. Um, it becomes more automatic and mundane when there's like a computer behind it. Even if you were to like make it so personal to the point where it's like you can't even recognize it's a human, I still think that when it comes to AI, you can't build in experiences, the human element of experience. Um, like for example, if I had multiple experiences in my lifetime that helped me shape a perspective in a certain way, I don't think AI can capture that. AI is
Hmm.
mostly built on data and massive amounts of data, but that element of consciousness and experiences from a human perspective, I don't think that can be replaced. So I honestly see them working hand in hand together, as we progress into the future.
And if that's the case, I mean, it's just truly there to cut out a lot of the mundane tasks and to like enhance our skills. Is that how you view it?
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, it's like any other tool. A finance person, Excel is their best friend.
Hmm.
Just like and I'm sure salespeople are using ChatGPT to write up emails, make it easier for them to write up emails. So it's taking away a lot of the mundane tasks that we're doing, and is able to give us more time to spend on what makes us human, and that's connecting for salespeople, connecting with people, talking to them. That'll give them more time to do that.
And so, what kind of feedback have you gotten from leadership at your customers, companies that you sell to? Like, is there um, like what that leads me to think is that, hey, we need less people selling, or more, one salesperson can do so much more. Is that kind of the direction that you feel like leaders at your customers are going in, or is it like, oh, this is great, but we'll continue to expand our sales force, for example? I'm just curious, kind of like, if you've had any feedback in that regard.
Yeah. No, I think in terms of when it comes to leadership and feedback that I've been seeing in the space, it's more so along the lines of where it's like, hey, we've been using this and it's really been improving our metrics because I've been able to keep a pulse on my sales team, and
Hmm.
we've been able to improve certain ways that the sales rep takes a call, or is able to do a follow up, or is able to save time on some mundane task. So that's able to boost our efficiency, um, and close more deals. um,
Hmm.
that that could lead towards, like, hey, we have more deals closing. That means that we have the resources to take on more customers. Let's hire another sales rep. um, so that could also lead to hiring more people. So I've seen that perspective as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. um, and I think it certainly makes us more efficient, right? I think it's so new that people don't understand artificial intelligence. Is there a way that you describe the product or artificial intelligence to maybe a prospect that doesn't understand the scope of what your tool provides?
Yeah, I would say that when it comes to AI, a lot of companies are now, boasting, saying that we have an AI model, and I just feel like that is always wrapped up in Chat GPT. They find some way to just connect that to Chat GPT, and um, it's very limited in that
Hmm.
respect. We have like several engineers working on our product, building a sophisticated machine learning model in the back end, that's being improved on every single day. And not only that, it's improving itself through these conversations and data that we're collecting. So um, I think it's much more richer than like a Chat GPT, for example. Um, and the best way I can describe it is that it's just an assistant for you to do your job better, um, in terms of like Spiky. For other, machine learning models or other, Chat GPT type of products, I can't really say much on that. But for Spiky, it's just an assistant to help you do your job better.
And is there a moment when, like, your customers have that light bulb moment or that realization? I mean, does it take kind of demoing the product, or how do you get that across to customers?
Yeah, so it really depends on the type of customer. When it comes to like the customer journey, there's two sides to it. There's the B2C side and then the B2B side. The B2C side, you would basically, as an individual, you'd find the website somehow, whether that's through marketing or some sort of lead generation. And you would go onto the website, sign up, create an account, and you go through the product. Within the product, we have like a little pop up that is able to connect you with like a representative from our team if you have any questions on the product at all. So
Hmm.
they're able to basically train on the product pretty fast, and get any insights on the product if they have questions pretty fast as well. Um, when it comes to the B2B side, it's a little bit more sophisticated because that's where we're reaching out to sales leaders or any types of leader at a company that we've identified like as a target persona, to sell to. From there, we would get that conversation, tell them a little bit about it. Of course, make sure that this would benefit them, and if it would be a good fit for them. And once we've identified that, we would run them through a demo. Usually, running them through a demo is pretty enough for them to see the value in it, and they're like, hey, okay, sure, let's get started. That's where we start to do an agreement, and then we onboard some of their users. When we onboard, we'll probably take a couple of meetings and check-ins every other week or so, to make sure that everybody's good with the product and if anyone has any questions. So The B2B side is a little bit more hands on, while the B2C side is like, they're able to just hop on and run with it.
How are you guys selling B2C? Who is that consumer? Is it like a solopreneur or something?
Yeah, it could be that. It could be also, a solo person at a company wanting to use Spiky just to see it. They have
Mm.
anyone has full access. They can just go onto the website and sign up
Hmm.
to be able to try it out. So if someone's interested who's a salesperson at a company, they can go ahead and do that. Um, we're not really targeting B2C. That happens more so organically through
Hmm.
just conversations in our network and things like that. So it's more of like a B2B solution.
Okay. Let's maybe shift a little bit to kind of competition. And I know earlier you talked about how your Spiky integrates with Salesforce and Zoom, and a big core piece of it is how it just fills out data in a CRM. So, like the first thing that comes to mind is why doesn't Salesforce create something similar? Do they have something similar? And then, additionally, I'm sure there are other companies out there. So, I'm just curious who you view as your biggest competition.
Yeah. So Um, we compete with like a lot of competitors in the market. I think the biggest one is Gong in the U.S. market. There's
Okay.
Chorus, Avoma, and a number of others. What really sets us apart from many of our competitors is this sophisticated machine learning model that I told you about. It makes our data extraction and insights much richer in value. And we have features such as sentiment analysis. Basically, if someone smiled during a certain point in the meeting,
Mm.
Spike is able to highlight that and show you that conversation and like what happened to lead up to that. So that's kind of like sentiment analysis. Really, Gong and a lot of other ones don't really have that type of behavioral data. Um, we were able to build that within our machine learning model. Um, there's like manual uploads of meetings in case you missed having Spiky on one. You can just copy the link from Zoom or Google and just drop it in. Makes it really easy for you to just be able to
Mm-hmm.
do that and get insights from your meeting quickly. Another one is interaction score. We're able to gamify your communication, and that helps a lot of our users to improve their communication. Being able to see, okay, I scored 80% on my interaction. Why is that, and how can I improve? And then Spiky will show that. So a lot of our competitors don't gamify that process, and I feel like that loses a lot of value because it's not going to spark interest for people to use the product. And like I said, we have big game changer features in the pipeline that will really change the landscape in terms of competitive value. Um, we're able to do this all because of the cutting edge machine learning models that our engineers have been working so hard on.
And you mentioned Gong. I'm curious too. Like, are you guys targeting the same avatars or same customers, or is there like a certain part of the market you focus on, or is it literally anybody that has a virtual sales force?
Yeah, so we Gong, I think, has gone more after towards big enterprises, and really you can see their product um, reflecting that. It's catering towards bigger enterprise customers. So, like, 5,000, 10,000 plus employees types of customers. Um, when it comes to us, we are looking to hit the market with smaller to medium sized businesses, um, more startups. Just because that's we are a startup and we're looking to target those people as well. Just because they're more leaner, and also they give us the light of day. We have an exciting product to sell to these customers, and I think that's the best place to start off. And eventually, we'll start hitting enterprises later on. But for now, that's where we're targeting the startup space.
Okay. And I know you said earlier you're the head of go to market. So is that the core of your role? I know you said you wear many hats, but is it truly, going out and selling and building the product, or maybe if you can kind of clarify that?
Yeah. So So far, what I've been doing with my time at Spiky, I've been, uh, leveraging my network, reaching out to my network, salespeople in my network, other people who may, find value within the product, just organically. That's one aspect, and then of course, like go to head of go to market really is, you're growing the product, whether that's in sales or revenue numbers or anything like that. So,
Mhm.
like I said, organically from my network, I've been doing that. Also, just like any other salesperson, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, all of these things, leveraging type on all types of tools to get out there and get our name out there and connect with people, to see if they're interested within, with the product. And then in terms of like, there's other aspects to the job, like, I work on a lot of marketing stuff. So whenever we're updating the website, if we're updating a use case that we want to advertise on the website, I'll work with the design team and other people, across our teams to see, okay, hey, how do we want to word this, and who's being targeted with this type of wording on this page, things like that. And then, later on in the future, we don't really have like a strict pricing or tier model right now.
Mhm.
That kind of comes and goes as we take deals.
Mhm.
But that's going to be something as well that I'll be working on with the team, figuring our pricing strategy and how we're going to monetize on, as we scale.
Yeah, can you just expand on that pricing strategy currently? Is it just truly vary customer to customer, and is it just I would assume it's a SaaS model, so it's like a monthly or annual subscription. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's either a monthly or annual subscription, per seat. Basically, that's kind of how we have it right now. It's not really advertised on the website, for an individual to come and sign up. But whenever we are taking, bigger deals, with actual companies, those are the deals that we're kind of closing, on like a seat basis, on whether it's monthly or yearly. Um, and that's just kind of like on a conversational basis as well. Just because
Hmm.
we're kind of new to the market, we're looking to see, until we have a product market fit, and truly have defined that, we're kind of just playing around with our pricing for now.
Okay. And then I'm curious, do you have a sales team that supports you, or are you the sales team as the head of go to market?
Yeah, there's a couple of sales, individuals. I think there's like two or three people. I really haven't connected with them so much just yet. But in terms of like the strategy behind things, I feel like I've been the one that's been working on that. But the people who are actually going out and, sourcing people, they work on that as well. So it's kind of like a team effort, but at the same time, I haven't met them just yet.
Okay. No, I was just curious to see what kind of support you have around you. But with that being said, you're kind of we're talking strategy a little bit. Maybe you can outline kind of the growth plan, maybe 1 year down the line and 5 years down the line for Spiky.
Yeah. So in terms of like the first year, well, to think about it, like from like the first year versus the 5 year, I think it really comes into two stages. So it would be like the first stage is really focusing on, hitting growth milestones within existing target markets, while also breaking into new target markets and growing there. And like I said, you'll be able to see some of these markets when we update the website in a week or so.
Hmm.
We're planning on growing fast through all different types of avenues, such as, partnerships, ecosystems, breaking into different verticals. And I think within this stage, profits are really not the core focus, during the growth period. So I like to identify that as like the first stage, and that would probably be year, 1 to, 3. The
Hmm.
second stage, the 3 to 5 year plan, that's where I think we would focus more on profitability. It's important to really land and expand first and capture, large parts of the market. And then from there, we can work on our in and up strategy, where we start working with our existing customers to improve, profitability, and refining our revenue model to set ourselves up for a successful exit. So, I think both stages are extremely important, but the perspectives on how you're growing the company really depends on what stage you're in.
Yeah. So it sounds like you said profitability maybe 3 years down the line. So if you're able to share, where do you guys stand from a funding and valuation perspective? I would assume then that it's VC funding that's getting you to year three as you look to kind of pivot to profitability.
Yeah, so we've raised a pre-seed round of I think around 900K at the beginning of 2023
Hmm.
from Techstars, Dorm Room Fund, Amrock Ventures, and Tech One. We're planning to raise uh, like more to invest in our business development efforts. So, from the sales side, like I said, right now we're really focusing on growth, and we've spent $0 on marketing so far,
Hmm.
and growth has been all word of mouth and the networking effect. Since our Spiky Scribe joins the meeting, people who are attending the meeting are seeing it and are like, "Hey, what is this?" So they end up getting interested, and then it ends up becoming a networking effect. So
Hmm.
that's kind of how it's been so far. So the next round of funding that we're looking for, we're really using those funds to accelerate growth rapidly.
Okay. And then maybe we can kind of close out the about Spiky and the growth plans. You mentioned something about an acquisition, so maybe we could speak to that. I mean, is the end goal an acquisition?
I wouldn't say the end goal is an acquisition. My previous startup that I worked with, um, it was more so open to an acquisition. I would say that if we're looking to take this business to $1 billion valuation, I think
Hmm.
that's building an ecosystem centered around Spiky. So that's leveraging partnerships and evolving into a solution for multiple verticals and use cases. But just as equally important, I think having a global reach internationally. So while being able to scale and be reliable will help make us a unicorn. And one of the most differentiated solutions out on the market, I think, scaling globally will also help us set us up whether we want to take it acquisition or go public. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I see it going.
And what verticals specifically, like, do you see yourself expanding into? You mentioned that a couple times, and the use cases. So maybe like a couple examples that would really allow you to scale.
Yeah, so the biggest use case, like we've discussed, is sales. Um, Another use case that I've been seeing is like product teams. So,
Mm.
product teams are always taking meetings, especially virtually for these remote and hybrid companies. So, they're meeting with so many different teams. They're meeting with engineers, they're meeting with designers, um, and they are the people responsible for kind of spearheading the product into a direction of, releasing features to the market or releasing a new product to the market. Um, and those are a lot of meetings and things that they need to take away from those meetings. So Spiky will be able to help them save time and really lead that product or feature set to market faster and more efficiently by being able to look at the analytics behind each call, seeing what follow-ups they need to do, seeing which person responsible for what when they've committed to a certain action on a meeting. They can hold them accountable, saying, "Hey, just wanted to follow up. We agreed that XYZ will be done and that you're going to be taking it on. Let's go ahead and move this forward." So a lot of project management, I think, is going to be helped with Spiky in that use case perspective.
Mm.
Um, Another use case I could see is like the VC space, venture capital. So
Hmm.
a lot of these VCs, they're sourcing deals. They meet with like several startups a week, and which startup do you pick? And there's so much information being thrown at you, and specifically, you want to look at specific metrics and specific information that Spike will be able to kind of cut out all the noise. You're looking for specific information that was said in the meeting. You can go ahead and find that and be able to make a decision quickly to be able to serve your venture capital company better. Um, so there's like those
Hmm.
are just a few use cases that I could see it going into the future.
Yeah, it almost becomes kind of like an AI assistant for many different areas of business or roles. out there, correct? Outside of
Exactly.
sales. Yeah, I
Exactly.
think that's interesting. Maybe one thing I want to close on too, because the way I look at like AI, right? It's such a hot topic, or it seems almost kind of like an arms race right now. Like everybody's gunning to create the best AI driven product out there. And so I'm curious what you believe your long term competitive advantage is, right? Is it, you mentioned earlier, it's the machine learning model. I mean, is that what you need to base it on? Is that you have better engineers and a better product that can um, withstand the competition and everyone else that's investing heavily into the space?
Yeah, I think that's a core to our offering. Having a sophisticated model, but at the same time, also the value that we're providing. Um, you can have a great product, but not really understand your customers, and you won't be able to
Mm,
have great connections with your customers and be able to sell to them more, and continue a good relationship with them. So understanding the value that we're really offering to the space and to our customers, I think is going to set us apart from our competitors in the long run. Just because we'll be able to cater to their needs, and those needs are continuously changing. The needs 10 years ago versus now are completely different, and we're here to change with that, and serve our customers to the best of our ability. So I really think having a customer focused path, and also a value based perspective on our product, is what's going to set us apart.
okay. Yeah. Hey, well, I wish you the best of luck with Spiky, and then maybe now we can kind of shift the conversation for a bit just about you and
Sure.
kind of what drives you. And I think my first question is you're recently hired at Spiky, right, as the head of growth. And so why did you choose Spiky out of all the startups, all the innovation going on out there? How did you land here and why?
Yeah. So it's a funny story. So like I said, I was a part of the Viaca network, sourcing deals for investors and things like that. And Spiky was one of the companies that I took a conversation with in terms to learn more about them, and to put them front and center of our investor community within our network. So when I was really learning about the product from one of the founders, his name is Barack. He was, demoing the product to me, going through it, and honestly, you said that aha moment or the light bulb going off. Um, it happened during that meeting. I
Mm-hmm.
saw exactly the value that was being offered through the product, and I think, in my opinion, it's going to be huge, especially in these times of being remote and hybrid. Um, I could totally see it going somewhere. So that's kind of what got me interested in it. The founders are really, really awesome people, very smart. Both have their PhDs in engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Almost half the team, basically all of our engineers, have PhDs. So very smart people to work with. Um, and that just really excites me, working with people that are smart, fun, and collaborative. That's the place that I want to be at, and I saw that in Spiky, and that's kind of how I got started in the space. Like 2 years ago or so, I just joined a Slack channel that has like a bunch of VCs and startup people in there, and someone I posted on there saying, "Hey, I'm interested to just learn more about startups, or even join one to help out." And that's how I met the founder for Dreamfully, and I learned a bunch from that
Mm-hmm.
experience. And um, that was almost a year of experience, like just doing stuff on the side for Dreamfully. And from there, that's where I learned, like the startup space and how to work in it, things like that. And that's where I was able to use that experience to go on to other things like Spiky. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what really helped me get started in the startup space. So just really networking with people within that space and seeing how you can get involved,
Yeah.
goes a long way.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that's super interesting. And so maybe if you can speak to it, like what's your end goal? I would assume, right? We talked about it earlier that Spiky grows and becomes profitable. And I would assume that you would go into it full time. I mean, do you have any timing around that, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah. I mean, wherever the opportunity, wherever the best opportunity for me um, is in the future is where I will go. Um, I don't know how that would look like, whether that would be with Spiky or something else. But in terms of the future, I really have a lot of hope for Spiky, and um, I could see it going places. So I'm pretty firm on the belief that I will probably continue on being the head of go to market there.
Okay. And do you ever foresee yourself starting your own company, becoming a founder, or do you like the position you're in now where you are a key part of the team and you're just looking to help an existing idea grow?
Yeah. So back in college, I tried starting my own thing. There is so many things that go into being a founder. Honestly, I have so much respect for founders. Like they're they're built like a different breed.
Hmm.
They're just 24/7 grinding on their business or product. So I tried doing that. I did fail with one of the businesses. So I wanted to pivot and see how I could get involved within the startup space without taking so much, on my shoulders. And I was thinking, that would be whether through, a head or leadership position within some sort of startup. So that's what I was looking for when venturing back out into the startup world after those endeavors.
Okay. And what was the biggest lesson you learned from that failure, trying to start your own thing and failing?
The biggest lesson I would say is really not giving up. I and when you're trying and then something doesn't work out, pivoting is like the most important thing. Just like anything in life, pivoting and being able to see if you can come at it from a different angle to solve a certain problem um, is the way to go. To be honest, because for the startup that I tried or the business that I tried, starting up, it took several attempts and it would get successful with each attempt. But at some point, I was getting too busy and I need to get an actual job to, pay bills and things like that. So
Hmm.
I had to just, unfortunately give up on that hope and dream. But um, throughout, all of my experience with startups and my regular, Twilio and OpenText employment is that don't give up and being able to be open to pivoting and in a changing environment is like super key to being able to grow.
Okay. No, I think that's a great lesson, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe to kind of transition back to how you got involved with Spiky and kind of startups in general, is that the best way you would recommend someone else to get involved? Um, or are there other ways? Like, how does someone get hired at a startup? What would your advice be?
Yeah, I think, like I said, just get involved, in the space by networking with founders, showing interest, joining communities. That'll somehow allow you to get involved with a startup. Um, like at Dreamfully, I wasn't getting paid anything. It was through
Hmm.
equity. Um, so things like that, being able to just throw away money for the time being and just put that to the side and really go after something that you're passionate about. Um, that's like really key to getting involved within the space. Um, yeah,
Can you speak to maybe like you mentioned equity? Like, is that typically available to someone who wants to take a key role at a startup that it's in its infancy? Like, is that typically how it works, right? Because I think you mentioned it, right? Unless you have VC funding or you're profitable, you can't pay a big salary, right? So is it's typically equity that's on the table?
yeah, definitely. It's typically equity. Depending on your role, sometimes you'll be compensated whether like if you're like on the sales side, you may be compensated by commission. Like if you're able
Hmm.
to source and close a deal, you'll get paid out from that deal a little bit. But typically, it'll be through equity.
Okay. Yeah. And I think before we were recording, right, we were talking about it. And I mean, I think that's one of the best ways to build wealth, right? And it gives you that incentive to, for your example, to really drive growth for Spiky, right? Because it will directly benefit you and the rest of the company and the founders, right? But I think the key is you have to pick right, because if the whole venture fails, it's kind of a moot point. But
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, like if it ends up failing, um, you can take that experience and use that to, leverage yourself into another opportunity that may be
Mhm.
successful. If it wasn't for Dreamfully, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have the startup experience to be able to use that within Spiky and, start scaling and growing the business. So, um, any experience that you've had in the past, just remember, if it doesn't, become, a rocket ship to the moon, it's okay. You've had some sort of experience that will set you up for even success later on in your life.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. You take your skills and experience with you. So maybe we could kind of just close out with one question on that note. And I'm just curious from your perspective, like as you look over the next year, what skill or expertise are you working on? Like, what do you need to improve on that will take you and Spikey to the next level?
Yeah. So I've never really been super technical myself when it comes to
Hmm.
like coding languages. I've only tried like very basic stuff like SQL. Although I don't think it's necessarily holding me back. I'd love to develop the skill to see if I would improve any aspect in my professional life. So like being able to code or do any of that stuff. Um, I think it'd be interesting to venture down that route and build experience in that, or learn some sort of coding language. Um, in terms of like the business side of things, probably just keep doing what I'm doing right now. Being able to be open to learning everything about marketing, growth, pricing, monetization, anything that has to do with those types of strategies. Um, all that information is not to waste. So just taking on, any information, articles, books that I can read, experiences that I go through, um, that's only going to set me up for success and set up whatever I'm taking on for success. Hopefully spiky, to, to the next level.
Yeah, very nice. I think kind of like we were saying earlier, you got to play the long game. So I wish you the best of luck with Spiky and everything. So maybe we'll close. I'll give you the floor. Where can people learn more about Spiky, and then how can they connect with you?
Yeah. You can learn more about the company by going on to Spiky.AI. And then if you want to learn more about it personally, you have any questions, you can contact me. It's Waleed, Waleed at Spiky.AI. You can also, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I don't, I don't know how I can put a
Yeah,
link on LinkedIn in this video or not, whatnot, but yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can connect with me, and I'm more than happy to connect with people and learn what you guys are building.
yeah, 100% Waleed. I'll put your LinkedIn in the description, a link to it, and a link to Spiky's website. So thanks again. Hey, I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. And yeah, I wish you the best of luck with Spiky.
Awesome. Thank you, Connor.
Yep.